Mahoraga is so broken that against Rika, the Queen of Curses, he could take a nap in the middle of the fight and Rika still wouldn't be able to beat him. Because despite how strong she is, Big Raga, the Abstapa, can definitely kill the Queen of Curses with a weapon that no cursed spirit can escape. Even Sukuna was worried about this weapon. But you know that Rika might have a slight chance of winning against Mahoraga because of an insane theory that Rika cannot actually die. What's even crazier is Rika just by herself might even be able to use Yuta's copied curse techniques. That's because there's another theory that says Rika might actually be a cursed spirit that merged with Yuta's original Shikigami, meaning there was probably a Shikigami that Yuta had before even Rika. So how is this possible? Okay, I know this technique may be kind of confusing, but I'm gonna make it simple for you, my bro. So the curse technique copy should have an external storage, likely a Shikigami, for the user to maximize the abilities of the technique. Because in general, a sorcerer can only have 3 to 4 curse techniques at max before the brain overloads. A sorcerer can innately possess only a single curse technique actually, and learn 2 to 3 more at max, unless you can body hop like Sukuna or Kenjaku. So a technique like copy should have a handy storage for all the curse techniques that exceed the brain's capacity. Yuta might not have realized it at the beginning, but this technique likely includes some kind of storage. And when Rika's soul was released from this world, she merged the part of her that she left behind with this pre-existing Shikigami to protect Yuta. So that makes Rika kind of a hybrid, a remnant curse spirit who possesses an unlimited pool of cursed energy and a Shikigami that acts as a memory card for all the techniques Yuta copies. Okay, I know, Yuta's curse technique sounds crazy overpowered, right? But here's why. You see, Yuta comes from a lineage of the greatest Jujutsu sorcerers. Gojo revealed that Yuta and himself are distant relatives and are descendants of Michizane Sugawara, one of the big 3 vengeful spirits. On top of that, in chapter 261, it was even mentioned that Yuta might also be a descendant of another great family too, the Fujiwara clan. This means that his copy technique might be an innate ability from either of these clans that reigned during the golden age of Jujutsu. So having an OP technique with a Shikigami could be totally possible. Since Rika already has access to all of Yuta's copy techniques, she might be able to use them, and that'll be lit. So now I'm going to explain how it's possible that as a cursed spirit, Rika has a will of her own, which can allow her to use those powers independent of Yuta. When fighting against Mahoraga, she might actually be able to launch all kinds of attacks with these multiple techniques. Still, Mahoraga could easily shrug off Rika's attacks because he possesses broken abilities, like his adaptability. Aside from all the techniques Rika could possibly use, she's also pretty strong. Like in chapter 141, she easily restrained Yuji. And you know, bro is no ordinary human. Like, you know, Yuji maxed out his physical stats before even learning about curse energy. So Rika should have possessed immense strength to be able to hold Yuji down. But that wasn't even Rika's full power. She becomes stronger and her abilities reach a whole different level when she becomes a one-eyed side chick, aka her awakened form. If you don't know about this awakened form, after the OG Rika's soul was released from this world, this form is the will she left behind in the current Rika to protect Yuta. Just like when she shifted gears on her own to enter the awakened state when Ryu and Uro trapped Yuta in the overlap of their dimensions. Even though Rika's just following Yuta's commands most of the time, her overprotective side unleashed itself and went wild when Yuta was in grave danger. So who knows? Against Mahoraga, she may also enter the awakened state and turn on her protective girlfriend rampage mode even without Yuta. But Mahoraga also possesses incredible strength. His extreme durability can be trouble for Rika even in her awakened form. Man, like Mahoraga even sent a 16-finger Sukuna flying through buildings back in Shibuya. So what could Rika possibly do to be able to keep up with the strength and agility of Mahoraga? To understand this, we have to look closely at Rika's abilities. She became an all-around support for Yuta in most of his battles. On top of an unlimited pool of cursed energy that she can easily transfer to Yuta whenever bro uses copied curse techniques, Rika can also store curse tools and basically do anything Yuta wants. That's child labor right there. During the Culling Games, Yuta and Rika fought Ryu Ishigori and Takako Uro at the same time, and in their battle, Rika managed to block Ishigori's hair laser beam, but he was still able to damage her by returning a punch so hard that it sent her flying. I know Rika's still powerful, but she clearly isn't the same as before. If only she could access these powers from back when she was in her OG form, that might have given her a greater chance of defeating Mahoraga, because her old form was insanely broken due to her power of obsession. Love, making her arguably the most powerful cursed spirit ever. She was so overpowered that the higher-ups in the Jujutsu world doubted if even Gojo could handle Yuta and contain a cursed spirit like her. When Geto declared an all-out war in Jujutsu Kaisen in chapters 0 to 4, he said that their chances of winning are only at about 30%, and it even drops to 20% if the Jujutsu Society gets involved. But it will spike to 99% if they can kill Yuta and get a hold of Rika's powers. And Geto was surprised as he easily got dominated by Yuta and Rika even though he released maximum Uzumaki using 4,000 cursed spirits. Man, this technique is such an extremely powerful attack because it combines all of those cursed spirits into a single ball of combined, condensed cursed energy. That's basically how strong Rika was before. Yuta defeated Geto when he unleashed Rika's full power by raising her into the awakened form. Like, yo, are they teaching quantum physics in JJK High? Cause my boy Yuta became a professional Riz master just to control Rika's powers. Since we discussed that Rika can transfer cursed energy to Yuta when he uses copy, what if this connection can be the bridge for Rika to be able to use the copied curse techniques, since she already stores these techniques within her? Especially when facing someone like Mahoraga, Rika must have something up her sleeve. Because even if Rika is top tier in terms of strength and speed, Mahoraga is god tier. And aside from his speed, he's also extremely tanky. But that's not all. To explain what we started talking about earlier, he even possessed a technique that is so broken, it even allows him to overcome the strongest attacks from the strongest sorcerers. And that is his power to adapt to any phenomena. No matter what techniques you throw at him, Raga will handle it easily, making him almost invincible to every attack that he is adapted to. Think of it like the wheel above his head works like an analyzer. After the wheel completes a spin, that means Mahoraga is already adapted to an attack. With his adaptation, he can nullify the most powerful abilities. Like back in Shibuya when Mahoraga adapted to Sukuna's slashing technique, and especially in the anime when Sukuna opened Malevolent Shrine, Big Raga, the Opstapa, casually walked inside Sukuna's domain like it was a goddamn park. During the calling games, Yorozu, one of the strongest sorcerers from the past, wouldn't stop yapping about love, if you remember. So Sukuna summoned Mahoraga, who then shut her up by clapping her with a single slash. The more attacks Mahoraga receives, the more he adapts, eventually reaching a point where he can launch a counterattack once he has fully analyzed them. Fast forward to Shinjuku, Mahoraga even adapted to Gojo's Unlimited Void and Infinity, which led Gojo to being cut in half like a subway. Basically, Mahoraga has fought the Jujutsu gods and battled them on almost equal footing. Meanwhile, Rika struggled to hold her own against Ryu, Uro, and a creepy cockroach, barely keeping up with these side characters. They might be strong, but they're not on the same level as Gojo or Sukuna. Don't get me wrong. Like, my guy, I'm not downplaying Rika. She's still strong. Sukuna even called her the queen after she tried to crush him. I'm just saying that Rika won't survive a one-on-one fight with Mahoraga, or in other words, Maharaja, meaning king in Hindi. Because if Rika's physical strength is one of her aces, Mahoraga can easily adapt to these attacks and dodge them in no time. He can quickly launch counterattacks and eventually overpower Rika. The only way to overcome Raga's adaptability is to hit him with a powerful attack that can destroy him before he can adapt to it. But does Rika have a special technique to absolutely whoop Big Raga's ass? Like when Sukuna used his domain and attacked Mahoraga, Opstapa was able to adjust to the unlimited slashes spanned by Sukuna. But the strategic Sukuna immediately switched to his fiery fingers, Fuga, which finally cooked Mahoraga. Rika might not have Fuga, but she does have a different trump card that she can use to totally damage Mahoraga by surprise. And that is her Cursed Energy Blast. But this attack is a Yuta-Rika combo, which they can release when Rika is fully manifested. Though Rika can launch the blast on her own, it's not as powerful as the beam that they can launch together. Because it's not the same without Big Bay energy. So the game changer would be if Rika could hit that same firepower when she's single. In other words, a baddie. Infinite Kick. Still, Mahoraga actually possesses a weapon that can ultimately one-hit delete Rika before she can even strike him with this beam. And that is the Sword of Extermination. Because this blade on his forearm is coated with positive energy. It can easily wipe cursed spirits and deflect cursed energy attacks. Regardless if Rika is a spirit or a Shikigami, she can easily be killed by this sword because she's basically an embodiment of curse energy. But, did you know that there's a theory that says Rika cannot actually die? Because technically if Rika is actually a Shikigami spawned from Yuta's curse energy, then Yuta can just summon her again. And the only way to completely kill Rika is to destroy the ring that connects her with Yuta. Wait, why does that sound familiar? Okay, now if you're thinking that if Rika is a Shikigami, then there's a chance that she could be destroyed just like Megami's 10 Shadows. No. Because the powers of the destroyed 10 Shadows are just transferred to the remaining Shikigami. In Rika's case, she's the only Shikigami of Yuta. So in theory, instead of dying and transferring her powers, as long as bro has the ring, he can just restore his girlfriend. So she may have the power to infinitely respawn against Mahoraga, but if she doesn't have any special attack in their fight, then it would still be totally impossible for Rika to defeat Raga. The worst case is, there won't be any fight. Mahoraga will just thrash Rika. If I were her, I'd be running when I hear the magic words.
With this sacred treasure I summon, Big Raga, the Op Stopper.
In another case, Rika might be the one to throw hands first, with a series of strong punches. But Raga is so tough and super fast that she might not land any powerful blows. Not to mention that while they are engaging in close combat, Mahoraga is already adapting to Rika's barrage. And in just a matter of time, Rika will be easily overpowered, even in hand-to-hand combat. Rika may switch to distance herself away from Raga and strike with her cursed energy blast. But Mahoraga, aside from his extreme durability that can withstand this attack, this dog can also use his sword of extermination to deflect Rika's laser beam. That's not all. To show Rika what real drip looks like, Big Raga can easily close the distance between them and finish off Rika instantly with just a single slash of his blade. That's why this match is clearly one-sided. Regardless of any attack that Rika throws, and even if she enters the awakened form, Mahoraga will just shrug off all that like it's nothing. Light work. The good news for Rika is, Raga is dead. But the bad news is, she still won't be the strongest because Mahoraga may be gone, but his insane power will just be transferred to another Shikigami of the 10 Shadows technique. What's even nuttier is, imagine if Raga and Agito's powers were passed down to any remaining Shikigami, like Rabbit Escape. This Shikigami isn't as godly as Mahoraga or as offensive as Agito, but imagine if both of their powers were uploaded or downloaded to Rabbit Escape. This little guy would be totally jacked, because not only have the strength of the two most OP Shikigami ever, but also the ability to multiply itself. So if Rika doesn't stand a chance against Raga, then she's definitely gonna get beat by a rabbit that can use Shadow Clone Jutsu. And Rabbit Escape is just one of the few Shikigami that can merge with Mahoraga and Agito. Given the chance for such a combination of their powers, one of them will become the strongest among all Shikigami.